right, thank you so much for still staying there. We told you earlier that we'll be looking at the issues of insecurity, but that will be in our second interview. But for now, we'll be looking at the EndSARS protest as we review events of 2020, events that led to the EndSARS protest that has become highly controversial to the extent that the federal government and state governments have set up judicial panels of inquiry. We're now being joined by a member of Police Service Commission, Austin Brymer. He joins us via phone from Auchi in Edo State. Good morning, Mr. Brymer, and good to have you join us.
Good morning, everyone in the studio. Good morning, Nigerians. I'm happy that we all see the end of the year. We are going to see New Year.
Indeed.
The Almighty President.
Indeed, thank you. Also
very much.
Joining us is a lawyer, Dele Farotimi. He joins us via Zoom from Lagos. Good morning, Mr. Farotimi, and good to have you join us again.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
All right, thank you. A pleasure to have you. Let's begin the conversation by asking you, Mr. Farotimi, your comments about what Bishop Kukah said when he said that Nigeria is a failed state. Let's begin from there. What do you think?
The gentleman who was in the studio with you before this segment, I didn't really get his name. He said something that I found particularly striking, and that is the fact that when the likes of Father Kukah speaks, we should understand that he is giving voice to those who really do not have a voice, who wouldn't be heard otherwise. I like thinking that when I'm offered platforms such as this one, you would also be hearing the voice of the mechanic on the street who will not get the opportunity to speak. You hear the tailor, the poor, the deprived. Those are the communities to which we belong and the ones we would have been if we were to have been born in this generation. So when Pastor Kukah and Reverend Father Kukah speaks, anyone with half a brain in their head would listen and perhaps find the kernels of truth that always enter. You find them everywhere around Father Kukah when he's speaking. He's a man of truth and he's a very decent man. I've not always agreed with his politics, but he was completely correct in describing Nigeria as a failed state. If it hasn't already failed completely, it is on its way there. It's galloping towards a precipice. And while some people can continue pretending that we are in El Dorado or we are heading towards utopia, anyone with half a brain in their head should listen when Kukah is speaking. He's a man of truth.
I needed to start with that, but we'll come back to you to advance conversation on the EndSARS protest. But let's quickly bring in Mr. Brymer, who joins us via phone from Auchi. Your quick comment about the statement credited to Reverend Kukah, where he said that Nigeria is a failed state and that there would have been a coup if a non-northern Muslim president did a fraction of what President Muhammadu Buhari is doing.
I can agree more with the gentleman that spoke last, I guess said via Zoom, that Nigeria may be seen to be heading towards failure, but it's not appropriate to say that Nigeria fails. By virtue of things that are going on right now all over the world, security-wise, politically, economically, all the countries of the world are experiencing instability. Nigeria is just part of the global village. And if Nigeria is already faced, then America itself is already faced because America is so stable. And I don't even see any country that is stable right now. Our situation may be a bit precarious, but it is not yet out of hand. And I don't think Nigeria is successful. I believe that we still have the wherewithal to put the north out of the fire. And we are on way doing that. But every Nigerian needs to be on board to maintain security, the part of the architecture, to ensure that our economy is out of the woods, to ensure that we are our brother's keeper. Every Nigerian needs to participate. We need to own up. We need to hold the country. We need to hold our legislators. Hold them to accountable. We need to hold every institution accountable. Let's stop destroying our institutions. I think it's my perception. Nigeria is not yet a failed state.
All right. Nigeria is not yet a failed state, is your conclusion. Many are absolutely worried about the security state, which I believe is the reason some are advancing the conversation that Nigeria is a failed state. But let's dive into the main subject for which you both are here, NSAS. If you recall how it started, for many, NSAS actually started, the protest started online a year before the Delta State incident took place, where a policeman was said to arbitrarily killed a young man. Let's begin from the spark of the NSAS, the incident that forced young Nigerians to storm the streets. Mr. Farotimi.
Well, you know, I think most Nigerians, including the journalists, you've misunderstood the NSAS phenomenon. And it is very important that before you might truly understand something, you clearly define it, because that helps. The NSAS thing is been there for years, for generations. There's been this latent anger in the mind of the average Nigerian. The man on the street, he recognizes that he's not being treated fairly. He's not being treated like a citizen. So you find that that anger, that divide between the ruled and the rulers have been there for a while. But it began to manifest because the world is becoming increasingly global. And our youth, they've begun to take on the mannerism of the global world, that they watch MTV, so they start keeping dreadlocks. They have all kind of musical influences. They start piercing their hairs. They start looking punk-like. And the Nigerian policeman, who has long seen the Nigerian people as victims to be exploited, is underpaid, is under-provisioned, badly quartered, deliberately starved of everything that should make his job interesting to him, underpaid, is carrying guns in an environment where impunity reigns, is continually the tool of the political class. So eventually these clashes were going to come. So okay, it started off, like you have said, I think something in Hugeli, then people began to key into it. I wasn't part of it. I've never known, I don't even know the people who started this, but we all began to identify with what we saw. This was clearly a demand for citizenship. I cannot be a global citizen and then be a slave in my own country. Somebody, the police can just pull up at any time. Hold on, stop there. Oh yeah, you. Then you shoot the person in cold blood. Too many examples on video all over Nigeria, the dehumanization of the Nigerian, the diminution of his right, treating him as though he were to be even less than a human being. You shoot a man in cold blood. So people began, it just awakened the anger that had always been there. But instead of that anger to spill over into violence, what was different this time around was that the youth managed to speak to themselves using the social media. They organized themselves. They even showed those of us old dogs who used to think we know how to protest that we knew nothing. They organized themselves peacefully, ensured that there wasn't any violence. But who brought violence? The usual merchant of violence, the Nigerian state. At all levels, the rulers began to mobilize their thugs. The state, using the DSS, coordinated by police, these are all facts seen by everybody on video, began to mobilize violence against peaceful protesters. When this failed, Lekki Toll Gate, unarmed, national anthem singing, flag waving protesters, soldiers paid with our taxes, went there. First, they shot blanks. Oh, no. They didn't shoot blanks. Oh, nobody died. And then 2 people died. Oh, then the toll gate lights went off. And then it was the camera. Complicity at all levels.
Mr. Farotimi, We'll come back.
Sorry, please.
Okay.
I'll round up in a second, please.
Right.
It is important that this point be made. It is not sufficient that they are busy setting up panels up and down the place, pretending to be searching for truth. Let them not be fooling themselves. We all know what happened. We can keep. Look, there was a live stream, for heaven's sake.
Mr. Faratimi, I may have to interject here. Reason is, you have mentioned a number of issues that would come to later. All the controversies leading to the Lekki shooting, you know, the back and forth between the government and the reason, you know, for setting up, you know, the panels of inquiry, and of course what to expect from that panel. But let's quickly get the reaction of Mr. Brimo. Let's bring him into this conversation. Mr. Brimo, you listened to Mr. Faratimi, the EndSARS crisis, which started subtly. He said it's been a latent, hideous anger in the minds of Nigerians over the years, which culminated into the social media mobilization and then youth hitting the streets, etc., etc. What more do you think we need to know about the EndSARS protest and, of course, events that led up to that incident?
Thank you. We are losing the essence once more. I'm just listening to my colleague from the other end. As usual, we Nigerians, when something happens, the Almighty wants us to learn lessons from them. But we are fond of losing the essence of anything that happens. EndSARS protest was a significant event in Nigerian history, which I believe Nigerians who really love this country should learn a very good lesson from. It wasn't about the police. It's about the negligence of institutions. Why are we looking at the protests, at the killings, and the actions? How many panels have been set up by government previously? The previous government have up to 4 panels for police reforms. Were they implemented? If not, why? What kind of police do we have? Do we deserve this kind of police? Yes or no? I expect Nigerians to be to look at the cause, not the effect. We are fond of looking at the effect. And at the end of the day, we will miss the essence of a monumental event that can change the course of history positively. Now, let's look at our mallet. In this country, we keep dancing around circles. We neglect building institutions. We like to build individuals. We like to empower leaders. Rather than building institutions like we've done in several civilized world, institutions that regulate systems and make systems to function flawlessly, we will not. We will erode the constitution that empowers institutions to regulate and empower individuals that can favor, that you can derive favor from to subvert the system. This is Nigeria's problem. This is why it's difficult for us to get it right. This is why we are talking of fair state. You cannot allow the customs to function without empowering individuals that will come and subvert the laws that empower the customs to effectively work. You cannot allow the police to function without empowering individuals that come and supervise the police and over-police the police and erode the powers of the police. You cannot empower, you cannot put a police in a place that will enable a Nigerian to wear a police uniform and be proud. How many Nigerians leave the school and want to join the police? How many? What kind of police do we have? A police system that has no emolument? Go and check, compare them with Nigerian army. When the Nigerian army is retiring with a corporal rank, I find Nigerians to find out how much they are paid. What is their pension scheme? I mentioned in the studio here was the police pension scheme. If you join the police today as a constable and you are retiring as an ASP, you don't get up to 2 million retirement benefits. These boys they are human beings, they are Nigerians. You expect them to perform miracles. Talking of EndSARS, who end police, not EndSARS. We should protest because we are missing the essence. Now there is a bill for the National Assembly saying that a body like Police Service Commission, like a constitutional body that was needed to recruit Nigerians diligently across board with federal character and able-bodied Nigerians. We want to remove that power and give to an individual. Erode the power of an institution, give to the Inspector General of Police. The bill is being passed by the National Assembly now and to go right at the state. And you know we pass it. Now the Inspector General of Police, if I'm a powerful man, I can send him a list, recruit 100 Nigerians for me. Once I have access to IG, he can recruit it. But you have an institution like PSC, then you have 6 national commissioners representing 6 geopolitical zones. If you bring a list to me, a senator brings a list to me, I pass it to others, they scrutinize it, they cannot get it through me. The chairman cannot impose candidates or not. And now want to remove the power of an institution and give to an individual. This is Nigeria for you. Ask our legislators why they think an individual will best do the function of recruiting police rather than an institution where you have 6 representatives from all the political states of the country. This is what is going on. Somebody can come and put money down and subvert the law. The little we are getting from the judiciary today is because the institution enjoys a little bit of independence from the executive. So we continue to use executive power to erode institutional powers that can help us get fairness. So NSAS is just the beginning. We have killed the Nigerian police. They are low paid. They have nothing. The policemen buy their uniforms. They don't have barracks. They don't have houses. They have to send their children to school, and you say they are extorting money. And you say they are killing. Some policemen want to even go to prison because they cannot make ends meet. They are Nigerians. How is their training? Did you not see a video of a policeman and inspector that was drunk in the afternoon? Are those the kind of things that we want to see? So we need to go back. We have had panels, so police reform. Why don't we have the police with the implemented? Back as we put the policemen in the same pension scheme as Nigeria Army pension scheme. What is the difference? Why can't we empower the police? Why can't we create barracks? Treat them like other institutions. Why do we have to create enormous power for one individual or top to be dictating and directing? You cannot say this about him. You cannot look into whatever he does. You cannot even question him. Is that what we want? Is that what happened in the life of the world? I think we need to go back and look at the essence of NSAS. What is the significance of NSAS? Is it about us or about our institution? Is it about Nigerian police? Is it about our attitude? Have we gotten it right? We're going to dance around consensus with my sister. This is my position.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Austin. Mr. Farotimi, I see you smiling. I don't know if you have a contrary opinion to what Mr. Brimo has said over there, but he's put emphasis on the fact that there is a systemic problem. There's a general problem of Nigerians giving power to individuals rather than to institutions. And this is just the beginning. How do we begin to deal with the systemic problem that is affecting Nigeria, which is also where you started from, telling us that, things have gone wrong for too long and the NSAS was just a reaction of all of that?
My language of thought is Yoruba. And my people have this funny proverb. They talk about the man who abandons the leprosy whilst he runs after the cure for ringworm. That is essentially who we are as a people. Our rulers know exactly what the problems are. The Nigerian police is not the way it is by accident. It is there the way it is as a function of deliberate design. If the Nigerian policeman were to be properly remunerated, if he were to be properly kitted, if he were like policeman in Ghana or anywhere else in the world, he would of course understand that he is a creation of law and he will act further to the law. We have the kind of police force that our rulers and the ruling system, the governing system desires. Nigeria runs on impunity. It cannot function on law. And that need for impunity has guaranteed that the Nigerian police would not be allowed to function the way the police elsewhere would function. If the Nigerian policeman sits down is an oddly to the average Nigerian politician, the fact of the matter is that he's an accessory to several crimes and he dares not talk. So let's get it clear that first thing first, I have no disagreement with most of what Mr. Brima has said. He was essentially, Mr. Brima is a member of the Police Service Commission. He would be there hoping to make the best out of what I believe is an irredeemably bad system. It's not just the police, it's a systemic thing. The police is merely a part of a system, which is why I pointed out that what you saw, what we've glibly referred to as NSAS protest is not really about NSAS. It's a demand for citizenship. If it is brutally put down as it's just been put down, what will merely happen is that it will come up again at some point in some other variant, because the essential question has not been answered. And the panels that have been set up, yes, it can talk about institutional reforms. It can deal with all these nice issues of how well the police could be reorganized and all of that, but it does not address the criminal nature of the state itself. How collaborations were found between the Lagos state government, functionaries of that government, the Nigerian army, and citizens were murdered in cold blood. This cannot be glossed over. This has nothing to do with how you reform the police or do not reform the police. The role of the police in the Lekki shooting did not arise until after the military had left. So yes, they were also complicit in that. But let's not muddle these things up. Our problems are clear. The NSAS argument, yes, it started and was crystallized by police brutality, but that police brutality is only part of a systemic design, and the actual struggle is about citizenship. That is what I found when I examined the issues, and that's my position.
When you say the actual struggle is about citizenship, how would you evaluate the, the reforms that government has undertaken over the years, the reform of the Nigerian police, which culminated into the signing of the Police Police Act by President Muhammadu Buhari in September, after 77 years of relying on an act that was enacted in 1943.
See, we can keep, okay, let me just call it whatever they are doing right now, let me call them palliatives. Hopefully they will not hurt those ones. But the real problems are systemic. You can stand in front of a tree, an apple tree. Oh, don't worry, we don't have apples in Nigeria. Let's use the mango tree. So you are stood in front of the mango tree and you're busy complaining about how much you would like to have you some oranges. If you're going to ever get oranges, you're going to have to remove that mango tree, take the time to plant your orange seeds, and ensure that you water and care for it. If people get the kind of institution they build. Nigeria has deliberately built a police force that is incapable of serving the people. Look, Mr. Brimer just pointed it out. He's a member of the highest body that deals with the welfare, the recruitment of the Nigerian constabulary. And he's just told, look, the Nigerian sergeant, a sergeant in the Nigerian police, cannot be divorced from the realities of the Nigerian state and the society we have built. What schools are his children going to attend? Can he pay the crazy school fees he would have to pay if he were to be living in Lagos, wherever it might be posted in Lagos? Can he pay school fees? Even the Megads send their children to private schools in Lagos because they are just aren't the number of schools required. You can't separate him from the environment within which he has to function. All these bills they are signing, we're just dealing with symptoms. We're not treating the actual problem. Nigeria needs to be completely overhauled and restructured. It cannot function the way it is. Father Kuka is talking and they are cackling. The reality should tell them that this is the time to be running around to find fixes. And the only way to fix this is to overhaul it. It's collapsing all around our ears.
All right. Let me bring the conversation back to Austin. Austin, yes, we have heard you say that there is a systemic problem. You have highlighted what those problems were, giving power to individuals rather than to institutions, because institutions will last longer than individuals. However, at the point of this conversation, everyone dived into it because of the NSAS protest that eventually highlighted even some of this systemic problem that you are now talking about. So I want to ask you, even even though it's a systemic problem, did the government respond? Was the government's response, you know, to the NSAS protest the best response that the government could have given at the time, particularly following the Lekki shooting?
Yes, I think so. I think so because like I always say, I don't speak for the government, but as an individual with several years of experience in leadership positions, responsible leadership positions that I've occupied before I got to where I am now, I did not see anything wrong with the response of the government because from before the protest got violent, I was following up, monitoring, and I was first and foremost satisfied with the role the police played in the first 2 weeks of the protest. I was throughout in Abuja, and I followed up. And the questions there were some little skirmishes between the police and protesters. What they wanted to go violent, I intervened. My colleague called me from everywhere. I represent the media community as well as the South. So whenever there is any issue between the police and any media person, I'm the first they call. So I've always been there, not just to intervene, but to ensure that fairness and everything is working. So I was satisfied with the role the police played, and I was following up to see government response. It was equally spontaneous. For instance, some of the issues raised, we want airstaff to be disbanded. Government responded, as far as I'm concerned, properly, by not just suspending airstaff, disbanded airstaff, giving instructions to the ICP and telling, look, if you must do this, do it this way. All these things done subtly in response to the protest because it was believed that the youth were legitimately asking for their rights. The brutality of airstaff was no longer a hidden thing. I mean, of airstaff. If our staff is just one unit, we have so many other units that we're equally going out of hand. We have special protection unit, anti-cultism, anti-kidnapping, so many units. But we are the focus on staff because their own had gone viral. All what we were doing, the abuse had gone too far. So that you want to know about my assessment of government response. I think to me government was okay, was fair. I think
Austin, what about the aspect of the government's response and the crackdown of NSAS protesters? Do you also agree with the Lekki shootings and the events that has happened after that, the back and forth about the military's role, what happened, who shot, the police's role, shooting at unarmed protesters, and even after that, what has happened, the government cracking down on NSAS protesters, arresting some, seizing passports, and a lot of these other events? It will seem as if the government does not agree that people have the right to protest. Do you also think the government acted appropriately in that regard?
I did not. I tell you, at no point did I say that government or any agency did what was right. When you are assessing the events at Lekki, there were errors there clearly, which I did not agree with. And I also want to be very clear about those events. The events, what led to those shootings, were not normal and were not okay. And we believe that the panel looking into it will eventually come up with facts. So it should not be appropriate for me to condemn or to appropriate all the reasons and so on. I think it will become public knowledge when they release their report. But from my own perspective, like I said, if the government started impounding passports or arresting people, I do not agree with you. I still don't agree because in the studio, you still ask the same question. And I said, if CBN, Central Bank, has cause to freeze an account, they can only do that on legal basis. If you don't have the legal authority to freeze an account, there's no suspicion of illegal funds, which they were empowered constitutionally. We should not say the president has directed. The government has. So, these citizens should be allowed to function. If DSS or NIA have facts that have intelligence that certain things there are subversive action going on, whether you are a protester or non-protester, any Nigerian doing anything illegal, these citizens should be allowed to take their court. We have the right to go to court. It's in spirit of my right. I said it in the studio the other day. I said, I will go to court. We have lawyers who will take this up pro bono. for us, for you. You go to court, sue the government, sue the DSS, sue the CBN, sue any institution of the government that is free on your rights. That it should not be the big, should not be big fire. Why is the media trying government? If it is true, what stop just from going to court? And we put it in the media. You have sued the government for violating your rights. So as we sit down and the government is cracking down on air protesters, if your pastor is still not committed an crime, you go to court. It's your right. People will hear it, that immigration is violating your rights. They can't do that except it's a crime. So let us give fair hearing to everybody. That is our responsibility, to be fair to all, instead of taking one side. So I don't agree with that, and I don't think we should wait for the panel to rather what happened at the toll gate. I'm not in support of what happened at the Lekki toll gate. I don't think the best there will rise. Whatever led to it, the outcome will be known, and I think Nigerians will learn from it.
Mr. Brown, I can assure you no one is taking sides. Just laying out the facts for you to respond to, actually.
Okay, fine. It's good enough if we are not taking sides. I'm a media professional as well, and I think we should be fair that anybody arrested or your passport seized, your account frozen, I keep saying it, if you think this is just acting on behalf of Nigerians who have gone illegal or done anything or do what works you, we have a system, this a system that functions flawlessly in Canada, US, France, Britain. Why can't they function here? If we really want to build this institution, so let us support government institutions to do their job, to take their responsibilities without mobbing them. Let us support government to respond to the police appropriately. We want the police, the kind of police we want. Let us encourage government to give us the kind of police we want. But if we want criminal police system, let us not cry when we get them. Because we are still moving towards that same direction right now. That in future is talking about end. We are going to keep protect end police in the future. We are going to protect end police. I can assure you, write it down. Because we are not still working towards the kind of police system that will give us justice, that will give us peace, that will give us protection, that will give us pride. You can't expect my son or my daughter to want to join the Nigerian police the way it's presently structured. The way we are pushing, the way we are amending our laws, the way we are pushing towards, we will go to end police in the nearest future, not far. So this is my position, my sister.
Mr. Farotimi, you might want to add to or respond to what he has said about the response of the Nigerian government to the NSAS protest.
Is that question to me?
Mr. Farotimi, the question is to you to respond. How would you, react to how government responded to the NSAS protest?
What I'm explaining is that Desmond Tutu said something. He said, if in a fight between an elephant and a mouse, if you say you're
Okay, it appears we're losing signals with Mr. Farotimi. We would try to reconnect with him to get his response to that question. But let's bring in Mr. Brimo back.
Actually.
All right, let's bring Mr. Brimo into the conversation. Mr. Brimo, I asked earlier about, the reforms, because what I hear from you is, you're not satisfied with the effectiveness and functionality of the Nigerian police. And good enough, you are a member of the Police Service Commission. The president signed the Police Act in September this year. Okay, we understand Mr. Farotimi is back, so I'll come back to you with that question. Mr. Farotimi, your quick response to...
I'm sorry,
yes.
I guess the network. What I was trying to point out very clearly is this. I am not neutral in the issue of the NSAS. I am not neutral because I have spoken to survivors, people who are there. I have sat down with amputees. I have seen people who had bullets in their head. I am aware of people who are still in hospitals today, who have been abandoned in most cases, and we who are on the outside, who knew nothing about the protest starting out, were the ones who are having to run around to raise money to be treating people injured by government and still in government hospitals. So let me be clear. I am not neutral, and I cannot afford to be, because those ones cannot come here to speak for themselves. So let's make something clear. It is bad enough that this government and the Nigerian state and its rulers found the capacity to do what they did on that day, but that they have continued to obfuscate and seek to cover up the truth, shows the truth of the evil dimensions of those who rule our country. So let me be very clear. I am not neutral, but I am truthful. If I am not truthful, I am sure they would have found one way or the other to slap one charge or the other on me after all this time. But the fact that must be told and allowed to sink into everybody's head is that the Nigerian state put down a peaceful protest by the employment of violent means. Yes, we will speak at the panel and we will do our best to force people who have pretended not to see the truth to see it to the point where they can no longer deny it. But what happened in Lekki is evil, and it is on tape. Everybody can see it. There is no way you doctor live streams, for heaven's sake. And we were not blind. We saw what happened in Abuja. SUVs going around distributing money, distributing weapons, coordinating talks. We saw what happened in Benin. Prisoners confessing that it was the wardens who chased them out of prison, and it was blamed on protesters. There was never any point where the protesters ever brought violence. It was the Nigerian state, its agencies, and its rulers that coordinated all the acts of violence that took place everywhere all over Nigeria. What happened on the 21st, was, especially in Lagos, was also a direct cause of government action. The police deliberately withdrew off the street after what they had done. The army withdrew. The same army that could shoot in Lekki, where were they by the time they started allowing looters to go around and overtake the whole place, so that people will start begging for law enforcement to come back onto the street? Let us be clear. These things are not about police reforms alone. Mr. Braimo himself has considered this severally in this discussion, and I have no qualms or I have no problem with Mr. Braimo. But this thing goes beyond the police. What kind of country are we living in where we can pretend not to see what we see, to the point where we are even denying the humanity of the dead? And the state is the active agent behind these things. Let us face the fact that, yes, the Nigerian police is decrepit and it is unfit for purpose, but now ask yourself one question. Is that by accident or by design? It must get to a point where we need to be asking ourselves, if this thing is like this and we've been complaining about it for so long, is it really that is a mistake that it is the way it is? Or it is this way because it was intended to be that way? Because if it is not that way, the system itself will collapse. If the Nigerian police should dare to uphold the Nigerian laws, most of the politicians they got will be in jail. So please, it goes beyond the police. It goes beyond the police.
Mr. Farotimi, you talked about, the youth were on the streets. The protest was peaceful for about 2 weeks. It was not until, I think, the 13th or 14th day that, it turned violent.
It didn't turn violence by accident. Yes. It wasn't by accident. It was by government design. All
right, we'll come to that. Now there's been, concerns that there was a need for the youth to withdraw at some point. They were admonished by different elder statesmen, Nigerians, admonished the youth to withdraw from the streets, especially that the government tried to respond to their demands, the 5 for 5 demand. The government tried to do that, and hence Nigerians, the youth were asked to withdraw from the streets, but they didn't. Do you think that, there was a line that was crossed by these youths that enabled the hijack of the protest and the subsequent violence that ensued?
You're conflating a lot of issues, and we need to unbundle them one by one. First thing first, it didn't turn violent by accident. The Nigerian state is a purveyor and specialist in the heart of violence. The Nigerian state enjoys people who comes to it with violence because they make money from violence. That's why Boko Haram has become what it's become. That's why banditry has become what it has become. The one thing the Nigerian state never likes is for you to engage it as a citizen, because it does not really have room for citizenship. When the NSAS protest started, and these kids started demanding NSAS, and government said, okay, we are ending SARS. We are now bringing SWAT. I laughed when the kids said, no, lie, we don't want SWAT either. I laughed. It was at that point I asked the question on social media. I said, the lazy youth, are you sure you are not demanding a revolution? Why I ask that question is simple. The Nigerian state cannot exist without the impunity enforced by the Nigerian police. The SARS unit is merely an extension of the brutality of the Nigerian state. So when they said, okay, we are calling it SWAT, the protesters said no. If you call it SWAT, it's still the same thing. So at that point, they made the critical connection that it is not really about what you call the police. It is about what it is empowered and enabled and structured to do. So they refused to accept the conversion of the name because they knew and understood that it did not change the character of the institution. It was at that point that the Nigerian state could no longer tolerate the NSAS protest, because at that point they crossed the line. So when you speak about crossing lines, not only did those kids cross lines, the lines we didn't dare to cross in my youth, they not only crossed it, they brought a bulldozer and bulldozed the stupid line that the Nigerian state has always erected, where it seeks to force the ruled to accept servitude whilst they function as though they are emirs, obas, and they are the lords and masters, and all of us down here should answer when they say jump, we should just ask how high, almost as if we have no rights as citizens. So when those protesters refused to accept the fraud of a conversion of names, I knew we were in for some tough times. What I did not know was that the Nigerian state would dare to cross the line in putting down that protest, because what it did was simple. It crossed over from the democratic order it pretends to be, and on the night of 20th of October 2020, the Nigerian state unmasked itself as the fascist state that it truly is. Yele Sowore was the one who unmasked Buhari for the wannabe dictator that he is. It was the NSAS protesters at Lekki that took off the mask of democracy and unmasked Nigeria as the fascist state that it truly is. Point is this. You speak about crossing lines. That line was crossed on the 20th of October 2020. The Nigerian state crossed the line. It pretends to be a democracy, but it revealed itself as a fascist state. The job of those of us who did not die on that night, whether we were there or not, those of us who are still fortunate enough to be alive today, is to ensure that it does not get away with continuing to pretend to be a democracy. Is it going to become a democracy, or it would reveal itself properly, so that every other person that is left alive would understand that our struggle is not a pro-democracy struggle, it's a liberation struggle. There is nowhere in the world where a democratic government kills its citizens or deals with their lives as flippantly as the Nigerian state has dealt with the lives of its citizens. So as far as I'm concerned, the sacrifice of 20th of October will not be in vain. If nothing else, this government, this system, is not just about APC, it's not just about Buhari, it goes beyond them. It is a system, and the system functions on impunity. But that impunity has to end before Nigeria can progress. It cannot progress like this. So you can link it to what Kuka was saying. It's a systemic thing. We can keep pretending that it does not exist, but the reality is that that is what it is. Nigeria is a fascist state, and our president and the entire governance system runs on impunity.
All right, Austin, you talked earlier about allowing the judicial panels of inquiry to do their jobs and come out with a report. I recall you also said at the beginning of this conversation, how many reports are there? How many have actually, being implemented? And what really is the power of this judicial panel to be able, to get justice for those who have been, who have suffered in the hands of the defunct SARS. So that brings me to asking, if the panel sits and it's difficult or almost impossible, or people are scared to come to the panel and talk about what happened to them, how exactly do you expect the panel, to come out with a report? But before you respond, we'll take a short break and we'll return shortly. Then you can respond to that question. Stay with us.
My house. We may look alike, but we are very different individuals. My adorable twins. They look so alike, but they don't like wearing the same things. And my little man. I had to find out the hard way because I've been trying to teach him my way. He loves to learn his own way because doing things his way is more fulfilling. Everybody believes their way is best. That's why Golden Penny Pasta is our favorite meal, because due to its non-stickiness, it allows me to satisfy everybody just the way they want it.
Golden Penny Pasta, made with durum wheat, is tasty, nutritious, a source of protein and fiber, and non-sticky. So you can cook, serve, and eat your pasta just the way you like it. Go on and enjoy your Golden Penny Pasta the way you want it. With Golden Penny Pasta, your way is best.
Confidence is important in life's little moments. Strong teeth can help even if they get her into trouble sometimes. A great smile is useful to break the ice, and making friends is easier when you know you have fresh breath. I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. Its antibacterial action formula gives them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath. The confidence of 3 toothpaste in 1. Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
Take a step that will help you on your own home. Ultra Homes offering happiness. 10, 20, 30, 40 lemon discount. Lemon Friday. Come get a slice and become a landlord. Lemon Friday. There's a piece of land for you in all Adron estates. People happiness. You could be a teacher, student, lawyer, trader. Shock you.
Thank you for still being there with us. We're advancing our conversation now. We're taking a review of the year and talking about the ends as protest. We have two gentlemen who have joined us. We have a lawyer, Dele Farutini, and we also have a member of the Police Service Commission, Austin Brahima. Dele joins us via Skype, and Austin is joining us via telephone from Auchi in Edo State. Austin, I was asking before we took that break that if NSAS protesters, those who participated in that protest, are being hunted or scared to come forward, how truthful can be the report, or what will be the impact of the report that the judicial panel of inquiry sitting across the country will come out with?
Thank you. I don't like speculation. I've been in the media for over 50 years. And I want somebody to come up and say he was harassed or arrested by security or anybody for coming to testify in any of the panels in the country. We want to see it in the media. Let's see evidence in the mainstream media of the person either being haunted or arrested for coming to any of the panels all over the country to give evidence. I've seen fiery lawyers across the country in television.
Austin, we haven't. Austin, we said if people are afraid to approach because of the fear of being haunted, like we said, Eramasela, one of those who was a member of the NSAS protest who participated, was arrested in Lagos, brought to Abuja and taken back to Lagos. He was in custody for some weeks before he was released. It is based on this premise this question is asked, because it will seem as if those who participated in the protest are being arrested. So I ask, if people are afraid of coming forward because they think they might be arrested, what then can be the possible outcome of the judicial panels sitting across the country?
Thank you. Let's not obfuscate events. I'm happy that Rotimi is a lawyer. And I know Rotimi will be prepared to avail any of us his services pro bono if my right abuse. And I keep talking about abuse of rights. If I participated in the NSAS, I have my right to protest. Every Nigerian has the legitimate right, inalienable right to protest legitimately. But even in the course of the protest, and I infringe on another citizen's own right. Right, if my right to protest does not empower me to break the law, I cannot decide to demarcate between peaceful protest and then act such breaking of law. If there's evidence, there is camera evidence that while I was taking part in protest, I broke into somebody's store. I was caught on camera. I participated in looting. I was caught on camera. Then if I come, whether I want to come to the panel, they be searching for me and I'm found and I picked up to come and make statement or to go and verify from this one or this video. They say, oh, NSAS protesters have been arrested. So let us, if I'm picked up and I have no criminality, then it's just simply because I exercise my right as a citizen to air my grievances against government. That's why I'm picked up. I'm told there are 100 lawyers who will stand up for me, locally and internationally, to advocate not just my religion, to get the government money for picking me up illegitimately and illegally. I think we should try to demarcate this. I'm not sure. If you're afraid, then you must have something that you're afraid of. Let us use criminality from legitimacy. So by lumping peaceful protesters with criminal elements, which my colleague wrote in said, and I'm happy he knew that once this generates another, Nigerians are in two parties. Unemployment everywhere. With so many youth that have graduated, they don't have jobs. So any opportunity to vent their anger could go extreme. And we cannot run away from that. And I've said that before everywhere. That it was an opportunity for Nigerians to react. So then for this, we are talking of panel. If you have genuine grievance, why should you be afraid? If you have been trampled upon, why should you be afraid? Why would you be afraid of being arrested? Expect the opportunity to cover. I can go anywhere and say this. I'm in support of protest, and I will support every protester, genuine one.
Austin, I'm very sure that you know that people can be afraid for their lives, in this country. We've seen it. Things are not black and white. So let's not try to make it look like they are. If someone feels threatened by, by someone or by government for speaking up, we'll see people trying not to speak up, not just about NSAS alone, but several other cases. So I just wanted to put that out there and allow Rotimi to close. Your final words, Mr. Farotimi, before we go.
Hold on. Before Rotimi will close, let me ask you. I am a member, like you said, like you know, of the Police Service Commission. If I have everything to lose by speaking against it, I have everything to lose by saying, if I say the truth and the truth hurts, because Rotimi said the Nigerian government do not like engagement. I am equally engaging the government by speaking against the non-respect of institutions in this country.
All right, Mr. Brimo, would have to allow Mr. Farotimi to weigh in on this question. Mr. Farotimi, is there a possibility that there are, NSAS protests who are scared of coming forward to present their matter before the panel of inquiry? And if that is the case, how will that affect the outcome of the panel and its recommendations?
I think the experience in Lagos is a little nuanced. There is a difference there here in Lagos. It's been one of what we have seen in Lagos is a situation where some people encouraged NSAS protesters to go underground originally. They were encouraged not to go before the panel. They were actually encouraged to shun the panel. Some of us were fortuitously led by God to meet 3 of them. And these 3 became the vanguard of those who eventually showed up at the panel. There is a lady who happened to have been on the stage with DJ Switch, even in the video that day, the live stream, Dabira. She was one of those who approached our coalition, the Radical Agenda Movement in the Nigerian Bar Association, led by Mr. Shino Ogunlano, who is representing Dabira and others today at the NSAS panel sitting at Lekki. It took Dabira and the 2 others coming out to get so many others who had been frightened into hiding to start coming out. And it was at this point that we started providing interventions to help those who are stuck in hospitals, government hospitals. They needed one medical help or the other, but government was not doing anything. I am being careful not to mention names, but let me say this clearly. Somebody was busy playing National Enquirer for the Lagos State machine. The same role that Donald Trump had National Enquirer playing for him, somebody was playing it for the Lagos State political machine in Lagos State. The protesters were not going to come out, not because they were mostly, there was a little bit of intimidation. That was what would have led people, critical actors like DJ Switch, to elect to leave. Because some people also did a lot of work to accentuate a need to be afraid, because the intention was to drive them on the ground, have the panel sit without taking evidence from witnesses at the scene, and then the panel would have been led to a conclusion that was already predetermined. I am very happy that it has pleased God to ensure that the cats have been set amongst the pigeons. The Lekki panel, at least as far as we have seen, they might be busy cackling in the background, issuing threats and making stupid phone calls. I don't know how you go around the business of threatening dead people. But the point is, whilst they might be cackling in the background, nobody has taken any actual step. Nobody has done that. And we are looking forward to when they will decide that they have had enough of the games they are playing, because as long as we stay in that panel, we are happy to stand before that panel and strip them naked. It's no problem. We'll continue.
Really wish we had more time to, get Brimo's response, especially as it concerns the relationship between the Police Service Commission and the Office of the Inspector General of Police in the reform and advancement of the Nigerian police. Thank you so much. Dele Farotimi is a lawyer. He joins us via Skype from Lagos. Thank you so much for your perspective.
Thank you very much for having me.
Also been joined by a member of the Police Service Commission, Austin Brimo. Thank you for your thoughts. All right.
Heartburn and indigestion? Try Gestade. My